Let's talk football now, where Tina Mbuli is Banyana Banyana's assistant coach, who has been to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations as well as a FIFA Women's World Cup recently. She's also the coach of the University of Cape Town, who lead the Hollywood Bets Super League lock standings currently. She joins us now via her phone all the way from Cape Town to tell us about her career as well as how Banyana Banyana is doing. Tina, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Live. A good evening to you, if you can hear me. Obviously, you've been somebody who's been Coach Desiree Ellis's trusted assistant for many years. How did that relationship start? And also, how did you end up being a coach?
Oh, my relationship, good evening, I didn't greet. Good evening to you, good evening to your viewers. My relationship with Coach Des started a long time ago. I think 2015. I did my KFA license with her, so she was my classmate. So that's how we began this relationship.
Oh, and how did you end up? Was coaching always something you were interested in?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't want to lie. It just happened that I was at DUT. I studied at DUT. So I was one of the senior players, and the guy who was coaching us, Coach Bohan, got an offer to coach Golden Arrows Juniors. So part of his contract was saying he can't coach the ladies' side at DUT and then coach Arrows. So at the time I was one of the senior players, and he just said, "Can you just be a player coach until they find a coach?" In that period where I was that player coach, then I began to fall in love with coaching, and he helped me a lot. And he was a guy who said, "No, I think you did well in this period, so you can go and do your licenses." So that's how it began. But I've never ever in my dream said I want to be a coach.
Yeah, how long ago was this, Tina?
2007.
Okay. Well,
I'm that old.
No, you mean we are all that old. So obviously you've been part of Banyana Banyana recently, the success down under as well as the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. But the Banyana have made significant progress in the last few years, qualifying, as I mentioned, for 2 FIFA Women's World Cup and also winning the AFCON. What would you attribute that success to?
I think a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment from the players. Because I believe, I'm one coach who believes that if players want to achieve something, they do everything, obviously with the help of the technical team, to achieve whatever that the team goal is. So if you look at the current players that are current core group of the Banyana players that have been with the team for such a long time, and one of their goals was to win AFCON. And after winning AFCON, they said, yeah, then now we can worry about 2023. Australia, New Zealand World Cup. But it's having the players as talented as they are hard workers, they are committed to whatever goal we set up as a team, because we don't just come and say, technical team want this. We sit down and discuss with them. This is what you are doing for the next coming year or in that period, and then the players will decide. This is what you want to achieve. And our role then as a technical team is to make sure that they are physically ready, technically ready, and technically ready. But it all goes down to the commitment of the players.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure how proud you are of the guys and the ladies, pardon me, of how far you guys. I mean, you reached the second round for the first time at the Down Under, as I mentioned. But for you personally, just take us through that tournament and how it was for you personally. I've spoken to you about this, for SABC Sport, but for our viewers here on SABC Sports Live, SABC News, that is, how was the tournament for you personally, and also the review of the World Cup?
We knew that it's going to be tough, and but again, like I said to you, our goal was clear. We wanted to reach round of 16, and we knew that after round of 16 to knockout, anything can happen. So for me personally, 2019 was just the taste of the World Cup, and after the World Cup, we all came back home and said, we've tested the World Cup. We don't want to miss the next one. So personally, I've learned a lot. I don't want to lie. Technically, the teams are more technical than us. And it's simply because of where the players are playing. if you look at the players that are coming from Europe, straight from World Cup, they went to play the Nations League. I mean the Nations tournament. So they play UEFA Champions League. So technically, they are far above than our players. So as a coach, you learn what is it that they do, because playing at club level, it helps the national team. So you get to see that, these players are playing for your Barcelona, these players are playing for your Chelsea, these players are playing the top teams like in Europe. Yeah, for me personally, I've also stole some of the ideas of how the team plays that side. Hopefully one day it will work for my team.
Yeah. Yeah, you speak about the competition that you guys had, one of which recently you guys were in the USA, against former champions, four-time champions. The results predictably probably didn't go South Africa's way, obviously, as you mentioned, but it's quite an elite team, the USA. How much is that gap, do you believe, is closing? How narrow is that gap now between Banyana Banyana, where they are, considering that a bulk of Banyana Banyana players play their football in a semi-professional league? But also how proud you guys did how well, you did in the World Cup, but also the match against the USA. How narrow is that gap, do you believe?
I think... Technically, I think we all know that our players are technically gifted. Just that not all of them get to play football professionally. If you go back to Nature USA, we're playing against the players that have played 2015 World Cup and won it, 2019 World Cup and won it. They are playing professionally week in, week out. And also when you come back into our team, you get to see the players that are playing at that level, your Tendi, your Jermaine, you see the gap between them and the rest of the other players. So for us to close that gap, it's either we professionalize our league in South Africa or we export our best players and go play abroad and play professionally. That's the only way I believe that you can close the gap.
Yeah, professional league is something that SAFA, the likes of SAFA, have been talking about, especially post the World Cup. How much of that, you already alluded to the fact that it could work in closing that gap, but also what are the other benefits you believe in growing the sport of women's football will the professional league be for South African leagues, for South African players, pardon me?
I think if you look at the success of Banyana Banyana, the players have done so much, and it shows that we do have talent in the country. So if they get to play professionally, I think they deserve to play professionally. The team has done so much in the past 7-8 years. They've done a lot. So for them to go and play international football, do the country crowd, do our crowd, and still come back and play, not even semi-professional, because semi-professional players get to be paid. It's amateur. We must say it. Hollywood bet is amateur. They deserve more. They deserve more, and it will help not just the players, but also the coaches will be paid. The team will get professional physios. The team will get professional doctors helping the team. The bios. It's not just about the players, because once it's professional, then it means now teams must have everything that is needed for a professional team. So. It's about time. I strongly believe it's about time.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches and improving themselves, Banyana Banyana will be playing the COSAFA Cup this beginning of this week right here in Gauteng. But I believe you'll be away on some course in Namibia. Care to tell us about that?
And unfortunately, CAF has not done anything for us to go to CAF Pro. So while waiting for that to happen, I decided to do my UEFA license. So I'm going to Namibia for my practicals. So I'm doing my UEFA license. So that's why I won't be around for COSAFA.
Explain what is a UEFA license for perhaps somebody who's watching. How, in terms of rankings of you get an honors degree, you get a degree, you get a diploma, you know what I mean? Where is this license in terms of placing? Is it a PhD?
Nah, I hope so. If you have a dream of coaching abroad, I'm not saying they won't recognize your CAF license, but you must have a UEFA license. So that's the dream, which one day maybe I'll leave the country. So for me to leave the country, I must have UEFA license.
Okay, Pep Guardiola. Of course, when you are not with Banyana Banyana, you are the head coach of UWC.
Yeah.
I know you don't like talking about this, but you're going to have to. You're finally looking like you can unseat Mamelodi Sundowns, who've won this league, the Hollywood Bet Super League, for a number of years. Your team definitely does have what it takes, but how are you guys approaching this? You are top of the log currently, but obviously Mamelodi Sundowns have games in hand. Should they win all their matches, you'll still have a 1-point lead. So you are in the driving seat right now. Tell us about what's the mood like in the UWC camp?
Honestly, it's tense, and tense in a way that we can see that we are closer, but very far. We know that it's still far. But I think our goal was clear from last season that we want to do better than 2022. It's October. October is a very difficult month for us. We have 7 games left now. 5 are away, only 2 at home. So playing away is not easy, and it comes with the pressure and the position we are at now. It takes a lot from us in terms of mental strength. So we are taking it one game at a time. We'll see how far we go. But yeah, it comes with pressure. But they say pressure is a privilege. It means you can do something if you are under pressure.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you tonight, Tina. Spoken like a true politician that you're going to be one day, because I know because you guys are in the driving seat and you know this. It is now your ball to fumble. Thank you so much. That's Tina Songembuli, Banyana Banyana assistant coach, as well as UWC head coach, who play in the Hollywood Bet Super League. If you don't follow that league, it is really exciting. Do follow it and support it. That's the only way to grow the sport in the country for women, that is. UWC lead the log, followed very closely by defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns, but there's a couple of teams also on their heel.